玄関。なんでホタルすぐ死んでしまうん？
So, Grave of the Fireflies takes place in Japan and during World War II, and it really is a very sad film that depicts, what happened during that time with a brother and a sister. They just show how it is. They show humans being humans, and I know before we came on camera that you talked about how the girls crying got on your nerves a little bit. Which when I first heard that, I was like, "Come on, man!"
Not for the reason you think. If it was live action, it probably wouldn't have affected me at all. But when it comes to voice acting, it's really difficult to get across crying without sounding bad. And a great example would be like the Powerpuff Girls episode where the entire town, some machine was activated where everyone was crying, and everyone sounded terrible in that. And it's considered the worst episode. Well, same basic concept here where I was like, it's really hard to convey crying in animation. So I wasn't blaming the characters or anything like that. It's just something, and I'm not even blaming the voice actors either. It's just something really hard to get across to make it sound natural.
I don't know, for me, it just felt real because I've been around children when they are crying and they do cry like that. You can't, for me, it's one of those things where crying is very raw emotion, and for a lot of people that does sound, I'm not going towards you,
it actually didn't sound very real for me. It sounded more, I don't know, it just sounded like they were just trying to get in a high pitch, going, but it's I don't know. I've heard kids huffing and puffing when they cry and stuff like that, and you can practically, hear the snot coming out. I didn't get that from this, but I think that's really just as a voice acting thing. It's hard to, like I said, it's hard to get across.
Yeah, I guess for me, I can just see why the ant told the little girl to shut up, and I was like,
I was not a fan of the ants.
Yeah, I was not a fan. Look, a lot of people are not a fan of the ants. Look, I love my ants.
We should give context to this.
Yeah, so in the film. They lose their mother very early in the film, and what's sad is that you actually see her. She's walking around, she's talking to them, and then moments later, because of some bombing, she ends up in a hospital with a lot of burns and bandaged up all of her body. And because of that, they have to go move in with their aunt and everything. And at first, you think, okay, the aunt's trying to be reasonable. I remember when she was like, yeah, we have to sell your mother's clothes to get money, to support ourselves. I know the little girl was very upset. And look, we all would be upset, but I could see where the aunt was coming from. But then as it went on, it became more of a very hey, y'all should do your part. Why is that little girl crying? And it's she just lost her mother.
Exactly.
Come on, look. And look, I know before we came on camera, you brought up the fact that, hey, why isn't because throughout the whole time, the aunt was very much hey, you should do your part in the war. Was it my husband's doing my part or something like that? Or was it
her husband and her daughter were both working in the factories at the time, and she was asking, why aren't you? And at first he said, well, the factory I was stationed in and my school had been blown up. So it's fair enough. And she left him alone for a little while. But then a few months pass. And then even I started questioning, so why, even she brought up after one of the air raids, she said, why aren't you helping to put out the fires? Do your part. I actually kind of questioned the same thing. I was like, actually, that's a good point. Why isn't he?
And that's the thing I love about the movie is that it doesn't have a black and white issue. It brings a made discussion.
That is a good point.
And what I like about it is that it's just very human. Look, we can be mad at the aunt, but at the same time, there is a fault on the brother because the brother was like, fine, we're going to leave and we're just going to support ourselves, by ourselves. But that's not a smart thing to do. And because he's so prideful and look, I get it. If I was in that situation where I was in a brother's situation, I don't know how I would react.
I might do this. I might have the same amount of pride, in all honesty, because it's just part, like you said, it's just part of being human. And when you're prideful, it's just kind of who you are. But it doesn't mean you're a bad person or anything like that. But from our point of view, we both agree we don't like the Anna.
Yeah, of course.
At least we agree on, so we can
Yeah,
agree on
we
that.
agree on something. Thank you, good sir. But I mean, what I love about the movie is that it delves into, yes, the brother's very prideful, and you can tell that he loves his sister, but
Oh, yes.
I mean, like even when they were at the aunt's house, I could tell that okay, like she's not giving them rice along with the soup and everything, and she's trying to conserve it, and it's like one of those things where because she's on about like, oh, y'all not doing your part and everything.
But to
and,
be fair, the little girl even brought up a really good point. It's like, well, our mother's kimonos actually paid for that, right? So it's technically our rice. isn't
yeah,
it? It's
because
like,
like
it's
she was
like,
like,
that's true, it is.
yeah, because the aunt was like, oh, we got rice, we have rice, and then
No, they have rice.
No, yeah, they have rice.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
how I saw it.
Yeah, and it's like, but your mother's clothes gave you the rice,
Exactly.
and you're not even sharing. And look, and it's like one of those things where part of me is like, well, Aunt, do you really love them? You're not gonna go after them? Like you're saying this little girl who I don't know, like I forgot, is it like the mother sister or is it
I think it's
the brother? Is it like
I
the
think it's the
mother's-
father's side of the family
Okay.
because I think even she said like because she was trying to get some other relative to take them in eventually, and I think she said like, can you write letters to some of your other relatives in the city, maybe someone on your mother's side. So
And
I'm
that's the
assuming
thing
she's on his
maybe
dad's side
that
of the
got
family.
me was that she felt like, okay, I get it, you want him to subdue his part, but you're coming across as kind of, I'm not going to say it because, hey, we're on college, but you know, it's like, come on, like, they just lost their mother.
Exactly.
Like, and these are children, and I get it, you want them to do their part and everything, but at the same time,
At least for the boy to do his part, but
Yeah.
I feel like I can actually argue in favor of the main character in that maybe the reason why he wasn't going to work and stuff is because his main priority was his little sister, was keeping her safe, making her happy. Not only that, but keeping her happy.
And plus, there was a moment where, you know, where they're trying to go to sleep, and the aunt was like berating her, be like, "Why is she crying?" And maybe that's the part where he was kind of worried that, okay, maybe because
He's-
right now, because
maybe she'll
he's the
keep doing
only
stuff
one who
like
could
that.
calm her down and be there with her.
So
And
that is kind of a thing in his favor of like maybe that was something he was thinking about why he wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
But maybe if the aunt actually like showed better comfort towards her, he would have been inclined thus to be more comfortable to go to work. So honestly, I think if people just found a way to work things out, things could have been different.
Yeah, and you know, eventually, you know, at the beginning, tells that the sister does, you know, pass away, and it's a sad thing because it's
malnourishment.
like malnourishment, and throughout this whole thing, he's trying to, you know, keep her happy. You know, there's that part where they got all the fireflies and everything.
Oh, that's a great scene.
And it's just heartbreaking because it's like a thing where, look, I'm an uncle now. I'm about to be an uncle of a second boy.
Congratulations.
I know, I didn't tell you.
Not about the second one.
Oh yeah, my bad. Well, now you know, but it's like one of those things where I'm an uncle and everything, and you know, I see my nephew and that little girl and how happy she is and everything, and it's like one of those things where you're just trying to do the best you can. You want to be prideful, you want to take care of her, but at the end of the day, that pride sadly does lead to her death, and that is sad. Like it's.
And the thing about this, it happened a lot in Japan. Like, just watching this as a casual film, you forget that this is a biographical film. This actually happened to so many people in Japan. So many kids went to bed hungry and even died as a result due to the war. And it was all too common. Like, this story is not a biographical film in the traditional sense of it's not about a specific person or a particular bombing, because there were a lot of air raids at the time. But it's just the idea of that point in time, what they're going through.
Yeah, and like I know you mentioned that, hey, this isn't brought up in like many Studio Ghibli collections or even advertisements that matter. But at the end of the day, I think y'all should really watch this movie just for something different. Like I know it's sad, but hey, life is sad, and sometimes we need to watch movies like this just to remember, hey, there are things going on in the world, especially nowadays. And that just a reminder that we need to be compassionate. At the end of the day, we all are human. And I don't know, we just need just to show compassion. Yeah.
Well, we need to ask ourselves, what are the ethical lines one should consider when making a biopic in regards to the timing of its release and the creative depiction? Well, obviously a certain amount of time should pass between a biopic, because there are times where it can kind of come across as, almost cash grabby. I remember this one movie starring Mark Wahlberg about the Boston bombing. It came out like 2 years after the actual events, and there were a lot of people who were like really offended by it, even people who were actually there when it happened, and they were like, "You're making this movie right now when we're still trying to heal." It's like moments like that I can kind of understand there being a big, very hard decisions.
I guess my thing is that if I'm watching a biographic like movie, I want it to be, accurate as possible, but don't try to, because I think the thing that some filmmakers do is that they have to have a villain. And even if, this person was a little rude in real life, they just blow their, traits out of proportion where they make that person the villain, where it's like, no, it's not a black and white issue. It's, this person was quote unquote rude, but they were still acting human.
Well, in often cases, they just make somebody up. They did that in Bohemian Rhapsody and several other movies where they just make up a snooty villain for them to go up against, but they didn't actually exist.
Oh, well.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Tune in next Thursday where we're going to go into movies that made us mad.
Ooh.
This has been The Verdict. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.